Hey everybody, Nate Peo here. You've probably heard you should be networking on LinkedIn if you want to meet new clients. We have no idea where to begin. What I've done is I've created a 5-step guide to help make your profile stand out and helping you get started connecting. When you start building your network, you're going to start attracting more leads. So it's easy. Head on over to my website, natepeo.com, sign up and get my 5 steps of standing out on LinkedIn. I'll show you how to start building your network.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. And How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a 6-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Peo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
Hello. Welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Peo. I'm your host, Nate Peo. Today, I'm joined with RT Custer. He is the co-founder of Vortic Watch Company, co-host of Products We're Talking About show, an inventor of the social stick, a serial entrepreneur. His passion is consumer goods and promoting American-made physical products sold online, especially through Shopify. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, no problem. So, you've been a serial entrepreneur for quite a while, it sounds like. What got you this itch to start this process and go down this path of becoming an entrepreneur, inventor, and creating products to sell online?
Yeah, so I studied industrial engineering at Penn State. And when I was a freshman in college, I got approached by my first MLM, which was College Works Painting. And if you haven't heard of them, there's a bunch of similar businesses, but basically they hire you to run your own exterior house painting business for the summer. Mm-hmm. And they call you an intern. And I had no idea what direct marketing or what MLMs were at the time. So I was hook, line, and sinker, like, oh yeah, I get to run my own business. This is awesome. And I actually, a lot of people speak negatively towards MLMs, but I did extremely well. And as a freshman in college, I was 19. I made $130,000 in a summer.
Wow.
And I'd never touched a paintbrush before, never painted anything in my life, but I realized through that experience that I was really good at sales and really good at like relationship building and storytelling. And I loved customer service and talking to customers and just making people happy by, providing a good quality product or service. And so, and I was only 19 when I realized that, and I ended up doing that for another year. And I was an engineering major, and so then I started learning about manufacturing and supply chain and all kinds of great stuff. Ended up working for Procter and Gamble for a summer. When I think that was my junior year, I did an internship with P&G. I actually worked for Pampers making diapers. Which if you've never seen how a diaper is made, it is the coolest. It's like a massive machine, like a football field long, that makes this little thing, and they pump out diapers at the end. Looks like a machine gun shooting out diapers. And so I just, I realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I loved sales. I loved marketing. Both my parents were basically like Mad Men era ad agency people. And so I grew up around that. And but then I was an engineer. I loved learning. I still love learning how things work, how things are made. And so I think through my college experience, I kind of realized that I was really passionate about all those things. And after college, I was like, I need to have my own company. And we started a watch company, which is a whole other story, but that's really how it came to be.
Cool. So to go in your first few summers in college and make $140,000 a year, that's a lot more money than a lot of people graduating college make. So, you're doing an internship at Procter and Gamble. Was that pay like on par with the painting business? And that was kind of like set you saying, hey, look, maybe I don't want to go work for a job. Maybe there's more money to be made doing my own thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't make much as an intern with P&G. I mean, they took care of me, certainly. But after that, I did my final summer, I did a co-op with Walmart down in Bentonville, Arkansas, at their headquarters. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into logistics and supply chain. I really liked that kind of stuff. And they offered me my first full-time job out of college. And I worked for Walmart Logistics, and that's how I got to Colorado. Is they moved me to Colorado and work in a distribution center there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, obviously, like working a corporate job, even though that job was awesome, my starting salary was, I think, $60,000. And I mean, as someone in their early 20s, that's great money, but wasn't exciting. And regardless of the money, it just wasn't exciting.
Yeah. If you're not passionate about going to work every day, it's not going to matter what they pay you. You're going to get bored. You're going to get called to do something that you do find interest in. And sometimes you get handcuffed making a bunch of money that you feel like, oh, how would I ever, abandon this steady paycheck and go scratch my itch for entrepreneurship? So it's pretty impressive that you realized that early on in your career and made the moves to be an entrepreneur and chase your passion. So when did you kind of start working with Shopify for the first time? Because I've had amazing experience with Shopify, and I'll go into a little bit about what I've learned through being in an online platform of sales. It just kind of surprised me when you're thinking about getting going, how hard it's going to be. And turns out to be there's a lot of solutions already out there in place.
Yeah, for sure. So Vortic Watch Company, what I do now, we had that idea when I was still in college, and my business partner Tyler and I were just talking about that idea for a long time. And when I graduated and I took the full-time job with Walmart and moved to Colorado, he moved out west with me, and he basically started that company while I had my full-time job, and my side hustle was just helping him build the watch company. Mm-hmm. We launched it on Kickstarter in 2014. And when we finished our Kickstarter, we had a successful Kickstarter, raised about $40,000 through Kickstarter, and had to build a website, and asked a couple of our friends, and they said, well, you're selling a physical product online. Shopify is really the only way to do that if you want to start with almost no money and try to do it yourself and have it be a seamless experience. And so we built vorticwatches.com on Shopify and never looked back.
Yeah. Well, when I first found Shopify, we were me and my wife had a wine shop and we were selling online wine, and we were kind of looking at some other platforms, and they're very confusing and very challenging to work for e-commerce. And then you get on Shopify and you're just like, oh, I kind of want it to do this one thing, and then there's an app that does it, or there's like these other things. You just like mix and match. You go, oh, all these people that have like really complex websites, it becomes like super easy to create this really professional, amazing user interface for the customers. You're just like, I didn't like, if you're sitting there thinking like, hey, I want to start selling products online, and you're like, I just don't know how to build a website, and that's going to hold you back. I'm like, it was way less challenging than I thought it would be. It was just like, hey, we can get up and running and going. And then when I started looking into like the manufacturing and stuff, you start realizing that so much of what comes together is just combining different parts and pieces that other people are already producing to get what you want to be built. And you can put that together and have these, companies pretty much started from scratch. If you're thinking like, hey, how would I manufacture all this stuff? And you don't realize like there's people in place that can help you manufacture. There's people in place that can help you logistically fulfill it. So some of these big challenges, if you think like, what happens if I have to fulfill huge amounts of orders? There's a lot of help out there, and just kind of dipping your feet into the waters helps you get an understanding of the process. And then that kind of like, I believe it leads you to realizing that, hey, maybe your idea of taking it from an idea, a concept to fruition might not be as a big of a process as you're making it out to be in your head. There'll be challenges along the way, but it's not, there's so much infrastructure in place that kind of helps you as a small business startup move your idea into testing the waters and see if your product has some validation from the market.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, Shopify just makes it so easy, especially with the templates. I mean, you can just get on Shopify, buy a template website for, I don't know, $99, and you already have your homepage and your product page designed for you. I mean, that's like when we started my passion project this year was socialstickusa.com, and it's literally a 6-foot long extendable stick used for social distancing and properly measuring social distance. And I had this funny idea, but it's also super practical. And I went on Shopify, bought a template, and like you said, I bought a couple apps, signed up for, free trials for like 3 or 4 apps. I was like, oh yeah, a review app and an upsell app and a, different like PayPal payments app. Awesome. And I just added all these apps. And we made our first sale in maybe 48 hours after I had the idea. So it's just the opportunity is a few clicks away.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely easy to get going for sure. So let's talk a little bit about Vortic Watches.
Yeah.
That's a company that you founded, I guess, 6 years ago. You've been working on it for a while. To me, that seems like an interesting choice to go into, because the watch business, I think, is dominated by a lot of huge brands. Mm-hmm. It's probably got a lot of barriers to entry to build something and go out and sell it, and then to scale up. It seems like there might be a big investment up front, and to even know if you're going to turn a profit. So, why did you choose watches, and why watches now?
For sure. So, long story short, Vortic Watch Company salvages and restores antique American pocket watches and turns them into one-of-a-kind wristwatches. Mm-hmm. By doing that, we can make the only 100% American-made watch. And that was really our initial idea was, hey, my business partner, Tyler, he really likes watches. And we were just talking about watches in college because, they're fun, different. It's one of the only ways that men have to like wear jewelry and express ourselves, right? And he was really a fan of like vintage watches, like vintage Timexes and stuff like that are just fun and inexpensive. And we realized that most watches, especially at that time and even today, are made in China, Japan, or Switzerland. Mm-hmm. And we asked the simple question of, I wonder if we could make a watch in the United States and actually manufacture basically everything here. And we went down that rabbit hole, and somebody told us about these pocket watches that were made 100 years ago in the US. And today, most pocket watches are scrapped for gold or silver of the case, the outside.
Yeah.
And pawn shops are doing that. And we had the light bulb that if we salvage the old pocket watches, the internals of those, the face of it, the mechanism, and then we made all the other stuff on the outside to turn those pocket watches into wristwatches, then it would be 100% made in USA, and we wouldn't have to make all the tiny little parts in the inside that are the hardest parts to make. We could just restore the old ones and repurpose them. And we put that idea on Kickstarter because we thought it was a good idea, but let's throw it out there. I mean, we super glued prototypes together, took pictures of them, and then told the story from like iPhone video in our garage. And we made $40,000 in 30 days from random people on the internet we didn't know through Kickstarter. And we were like, okay, minimum viable product, proof of concept, product market fit, check. Let's do this. And then we went and raised a round of capital because you're right, it takes a lot of money to start a watch company.
So do you just go around to pawn shops and just collect watches, or is there like have you found a source to just kind of collect these pocket watches easily so you're not just scrounging swap meets and...
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. It's a question we get all the time. So we basically, anytime a pawn shop or a jewelry store somewhere in America goes out of business, someone goes in and buys the whole thing. They're called estate buyers. And, also watchmakers or like watch collectors, people buy out the entire estate of an individual or a business that has a bunch of old pocket watches and all kinds of other things, Rolexes, gold, silver, diamonds. Not many people have a use for bulk pocket watches nowadays. I am really the only person in America that buys more than 10 pocket watches at a time for any reason. And so those people, those estate buyers, they know who I am, and they bring me huge boxes, sometimes storage units full of pocket watches. And then I have, I think, the coolest job in the world. I just get to pick and cherry pick like the best and the most interesting ones. And then we restore those and turn them into wristwatches.
So everyone that's up there is completely 100% unique. Are any of them like build to order? Like, hey, I've got this. Here's some pocket watches I picked up, and somebody says, hey, I want to go on here and I want to get mine to use this band and this other stuff and this other stuff and customize it, or is it like you just go through, refurbish them, and then they go up on the website?
Yeah, so we have basically three ways, three revenue streams, three ways to buy a watch. The first one is, I think, the most fun, and that's if you have a family heirloom pocket watch, your granddad's, your dad's pocket watch, whatever, you can send it to us, and we're the only company in the world that'll turn that into a wristwatch as a service. We call it Preserve Your Legacy, or quite literally Convert Your Watch. That's what we call that on the website. That's one way. Of course, if you buy a pocket watch on eBay or at a pawn shop near you, and then you send it to us, same kind of difference for us. It's more fun to use a family heirloom because it's got a really cool story, but that's number one. Number two is what we call Watch of the Day. And so we use our inventory of pocket watches that we found through that process I just described, and we choose one new pocket watch every day to convert into a wristwatch using all of our choices. And then we post it every single day. So every day there's one new one-of-a-kind watch for sale. When it's sold, it's gone forever. And so we make 365 watches a year. It's awesome. It's really fun to do. And then the third is limited editions. So sometimes we find multiple pocket watches that all look the same or like they were made the same 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And we make a small set of limited editions that are for sale. The most relevant being what's on my wrist today. It's the military edition. We do 50 of those a year, and the pocket watches in those were flown on the B bombers in World War II.
Wow!
And so they all have a story, but the military edition is the best story.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's a lot of history. There's somebody owned that watch at one point and did stuff with it, wore it. So, I that's just a fantastic idea and fantastic concept, and it's unique. Everybody's like, hey, if you want to stand out with a watch that nobody else can get, that's that's where you go to do it. So let's talk a little bit about being a co-founder in a startup business. What has been some of the biggest challenges you think you've faced personally in that as being a founder, and what have you learned to overcome from it?
It's taken years, but I finally realized that I can't do everything by myself, and that I need other people to grow a big business. Or basically, if I want to be not just a small business and I want to grow a company, I need to surround myself with a lot of great people. And I think I have that realization really over the last couple years. And there's been a lot of great people that worked for me, but something got messed up in the relationship. Either I didn't treat them well enough, we didn't come up with a compensation plan that made sense, or we didn't create a good enough environment that they wanted to stay around. Mm-hmm. And I think through trial and error, I've figured that out now. And the people I have now are just rock stars and love what we do. They're all in. And they want to come to work. They want to do what we do. They want to preserve American history, which is our motto, and they don't feel like they're working for me. I like to think so, at least. They feel like they're working towards a bigger mission, which is providing a service and a product that no one else in the world does. And we're making a lot of customers really happy. Yeah. And so that's the biggest learning, is just how do I find more of those people and keep those people happy?
Yeah, fantastic. Because I've been reading and hearing a lot about finding your why, discovering your why, and it really has to be down to your core. And they're talking about it as a company. If you're like, hey, I'm just making watches, like, what's special about that? But when you describe it as, I'm preserving history, I am preserving your legacy, there is a why that resonates to the core, that just goes, hey, I need to show up every day at work, and I need to put forth a lot of effort. I need to put my passion into this, because this is being made. Not only does that watch have a lot of history, but it's going to a very specific individual person that's picking it, and they're going to go create some history with it as well. So it's just kind of like you're passing down this from generation to generation. And it's just an amazing story of history being made and recreated. So I can see why finding the right people is important, and people that want to have that same passion and drive for it. And I think it's an amazing business. The way you've described it, you've really found your why, and it resonates, bigger to the mission than yourself and to the people doing it. It's just like, hey, it's all about the history here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, one of my favorite books is Start With Why, and also Building a Story Brand. And I feel like those two books, when you put the learnings from those books together, if you were to read those two books and then look at the homepage of my website, you'll be like, oh, wow, okay, he did all those things that those two, that Simon Sinek and Don Miller told him to do. And gosh, it works. Right at the top of the homepage, preserving American history, one watch at a time. And it literally on the homepage of vorticwatches.com, it says what we do. And then there's a paragraph, how we make it. Then there's a paragraph, how to buy it. And then there's a paragraph. It's so dang simple. And it's because that's what the customers want. It's like, give me the 3 paragraphs of like, here's why you do it. Here's what you do. And here's how to order. That's all they want.
Yes, for sure. I'm gonna. What was the name of the building? The Don Miller book was called
Building a Story Brand.
Yes.
He also has a podcast. I would recommend his podcast, but the book, his original book, is really good.
Yeah, I've been listening to Simon Sinek's The Why book, and the one previously that I heard first was The Infinite Game. I was like, this is really cool, and it's changing the way I've thought about stuff, the stories I want to tell, how you craft your message, how you resonate with people. Yep. Very powerful stuff. And here you go, like, just follow these 2 books, go to my website. It's like, there's the template, like, how you go to do it, like, copy and paste, not copy and paste, but really, like, go see how it's done and make it your own. So very cool. You did mention the words all in. So I want to ask you, What does all in mean to you around an idea or an outcome?
Yeah. So for me, all in is, um, it's my word of 2020, which my word is fearless for this year. And I picked that word in early January before the stuff hit the fan. And I'm so glad I picked that word because I've had a lot of bad things happen to me recently, and I decided that I was just going to be all in and live without fear. And that's my answer to your question, is like, I am not afraid of anything that happens in my life or in my business, because I am here, I am present, I'm all in, I'm ready for anything that's going to happen. And whatever happens, I know I'll be okay because I'm fully present here and ready.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer and a great take at it, because so much of what's happens to us is outside of our control.
Yeah.
And you can only just react to it, and you have to make a decision, like, how are you going to react to the things that happen to you that you're not in control of. And you can choose to respond in a place of fear and doubt and discouragement, or you can go fearless, powerful, take it on, find a solution, and know, like, hey, whatever bad things throw at me, like, I'm going to dig deep, pound through it, and probably arise on the other end a bit better. At least for me, everything that's ever really bad happened in my life, you go, hey, would I ever trade that away? And you go, no, because if that thing didn't happen, it wouldn't have taken me here, and blah, blah, blah. We were talking about having kids before the show started. And like, when you go, what's like one of the biggest, most powerful things you have happen in your life? And it's like, well, for me, it's been having kids, and all those bad things that happen, take one of them away, I don't have my son, so right. Like, how could you not pound through it and just kind of go, hey, it's going to be better on the other end?
100%.
Awesome stuff. So I know you prepared the question for luck, and I didn't ask it to you early on because I was kind of pivoting a little bit, but I'll give you a chance to answer your question on what does it mean to be lucky, or what does luck mean to you?
Yeah, so I love that question, and a lot of people talk about the theory of luck as an entrepreneur, right? But my dad's theory of luck is about golf, and that was my dad's and my thing, my whole life, is we always play golf together. And he says, I'd rather be lucky than good, and it basically, he says that anytime you get a chip that's really close, or you sink a putt from really far away that just shouldn't have happened, Mm-hmm. But there's a deeper meaning in that, because it's almost anytime you say that in the sense of golf, it's, you just did something amazing that doesn't normally happen. You sink a putt or have a great shot. I'd rather be lucky than good. It's a little bit self-deprecating humor, because mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I'm not usually that good, but when it happens, it's awesome. And I think we all have those moments as entrepreneurs where something really good happens to us and we chalk it up to luck or karma or something like that. But we, just like you were saying about the string of bad or different things that had to happen in order for you to get to where you are, and would you change them? No, because it was life. We put ourselves in all of these situations where we can get or be lucky. And so, a lot of people say you make your own luck. I believe strongly in karma, which is, if I go all in, if I'm here and I'm present and I'm working my butt off all the time, I will get lucky sometimes. And I also will have success if I mm-hmm. just keep pressing on.
Yeah. Awesome. That's an awesome answer, and quite different one than, because I ask a lot of people that question, and that's probably one of the more unique answers I've gotten. And I love that. Like, I'd rather be lucky than good, because, I don't know, maybe if you're always good, then you're always expected to make those magical shots. And it's
that
like,
too. That too. Yeah. That's true. If you always hit a perfect shot, or if every day is awesome all the time, then when something really good happens, is it is it really awesome still? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Like I've thought about that a lot too, because if you said like I'm always going to chase happiness and I always want to feel at this high level, like, well, then that just becomes the norm. And so if you don't have an up or a down, then that's just like baseline. So even if you want to get to that next level, it's just like, okay, now I'm just at a baseline. You're going to have ups and downs from there. So I'm excited to ask you this question because I have a feeling you have a really, really defined answer and you've thought a lot about this. I always ask my guests, who are they trying to get in front of? Who are they trying to connect with? Who's their ideal client or customer that really resonates with what they're doing? So that's what I'd like to know is who are you really targeting, or who are the people that love your products?
Yeah, so I've actually done a ton of market research from my customers for Vortic Watch Company. And speaking of Shopify, there's a Shopify app, shameless plug for, it's an app called Know Your Customer. And I don't know where the data comes from. I think it's all, up to snuff. I'm not sure. But if you download that app and plug it into your Shopify store, it scours the internet for every piece of information it can find about your customers based on their email address, their name, their, all the information you have about them in Shopify. And it spits out basically a demographic report and all kinds of other stuff. Based on that, and I've backed that up with some surveys of my best customers. My customers in general are men between 40 and 60 who make $100,000 to $500,000 per year. They like history. Obviously, they like watches, but they like history and they like vintage things. So a lot of them either they're into vintage cars, they're into collectibles, something like that. They have some kind of interest in collecting or finding and using or repurposing older things, and that's obviously why they like the pocket watch becoming a wristwatch. But those in general are like customer demographics, and I would say 75% of my customers fall into those demographics. But a lot of it goes back to what you said earlier, which is my customers want a watch that no one else in the world can have, because that's not a thing. Typically, if you have a Rolex is a great brand, makes a phenomenal product worth every cent. Great investment sometimes if you get the right one. However, your Rolex is one of probably 10 to 50,000 of the same exact thing that exist all around the world that other people just like you have. If you buy a Vortic watch, you're the only one in the world that has that watch. And it has a unique story that's yours that you can pass down to your future generations, your sons, your daughters, etc. And I think that it's that pursuit of this perfect gift, either for you or for somebody else, that, just you're never going to see someone else with the same one. And that's so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love how you've narrowed it down to not just the demographics, but the mindset. And one of my guests on the podcast was talking about how most people, when he asked them like, hey, who's your ideal? Because he was a writer. He was a comic book writer and like a horror film writer. And he was like, you have to be like really down on your customer. And I was like, yeah, of course I am. It's this person, this age, this demographic, this thing. And he's like, no, wrong answer. It's like this person, he just like describes this person, worked corporate America and they were a bit rebellious and probably grew up punk rock, but they didn't do anything too bad. And I was like, oh, I know exactly who you're talking. I know this person. I know his name. I know where he lives. I know this is the person that would just love your stuff. Like I just immediately knew who exactly that person was. And I was like, yeah, you got to be to that level of niche of really understanding who it is, or you're just kind of, I don't know, mediocre to everybody. Nobody's going to really seek you out and go like, hey, this is my tribe. This is people I want to be with and hang out with. So
for sure. Cool. And I think that, in the vein of like customer personas and like finding like your customer avatar, right? That like perfect customer that you're searching for. I think I got lucky in the sense that my dad is like the absolute dead center of my customer avatar, as far as like all those demographics I said, and like what he likes and doesn't like. Like whenever I'm like trying to put myself in my customer's shoes, I just call my dad. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about this tagline? Or what do you think about this ad idea or whatever? And he's just like, oh yeah, I totally buy that. I was like, all right, we're going to do it.
It's nice to have a pipeline to your top customer, your
direct
ideal
line. Yep.
There
Got
you
the
go.
cell phone. Anyway.
Cool stuff. So where can people find you if they want to get connected to you or get connected to getting their own custom one-of-a-kind unique watch?
Yeah, so Vortic Watch Company is vorticwatches.com. And my LinkedIn is probably the best way to get right to me and have a conversation. It's just RT Custer on LinkedIn. I'm also simply RT, like Robert Thomas, at vorticwatches.com. That's my email address.
Awesome. So those links will be in the show notes. You can get connected with RT. If you do, reach out to him, let him know where you found him, and definitely check out the watches. I think, even if it's not something you would buy, to me, this is like gold for gifts that you want to get somebody that has everything. You don't know what to get them. Like it's just a gold mine to go there, check it out. Awesome. Well, I had a great conversation. You had so much to share, and love to pick your brain some more about a lot of other topics we didn't get to touch, but had a great conversation here.
Let's do it. This is fun. Anytime.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.